Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really powerful personal story. It's all about how a single university course can do so much more than just teach you something new. It can literally reshape your entire professional life. This quote right here from the man at the center of our story, Damar Singh Saud, it just gets right to the heart of it. We're talking about a massive shift in perspective, moving from seeing writing as this, dry, technical chore to actually embracing it as a creative and scholarly art form. So, how does a change like that really happen? Well, let's trace the journey step by step through the 17 sessions of this one single life-altering course. Our story kicks off with Damar Singh Saud. He's an MPhil student, he's a university teacher, but by his own admission, he felt like an amateur researcher. He was definitely eager to learn, but he felt like he was just kind of going through the motions of academic life. It all started with a course called Academic Writing and Research, but these 17 sessions, led by a professor Hemraj Kafla, they promised way more than just new skills. They were offering a whole new way of thinking, a complete reevaluation of what it even means to be a scholar. Right from day one, it was crystal clear this course was going to be different. The professor, Hemraj Kafle, he started by taking apart one of the most basic things in academia, the classroom hierarchy. Now, this might seem like a small thing, but it had a huge impact. Instead of going around the room saying your name and title, students introduced themselves based on their intellectual interests. And that simple change? It just leveled the playing field. Instantly, everyone was a fellow scholar, not just a name on a list. So the course very quickly established its ground rules. This wasn't about writing in a vacuum. It was about working together across different fields, using things like Google Docs. It was about using your own personal stories as valid data. And the expectations were high from the get-go. Academic work wasn't just a paper. It was framed as a multi-dimensional performance. Now, let's get into what was maybe the most powerful part of the entire course: how it fused personal storytelling with real scholarly rigor. Let's see how that actually worked. Professor Kafle introduced this really powerful concept, career. What is it? Well, it's basically a formal method that lets you dig into your own life experiences, your past, your present, your future, and turn them into structured, totally legitimate academic reflection. It made the personal profoundly scholarly. And this idea wasn't just a theory, it actually came to life. At one point, the professor had to miss a class. And what happened? The students organized their own impromptu workshop to talk about the research. That moment proved that a real, thriving learning community had been built. It could even sustain itself. This new approach also came with a seriously powerful toolkit for persuasion. Students learned to combine the classical rhetorical tools, ethos for credibility, pathos for emotion, logos for logic, with modern principles like the IDA model from marketing to grab attention, and even Maslow's hierarchy to appeal to basic human needs. The point wasn't just to be correct, it was to be truly persuasive. Okay, here we are at a really critical point in the journey, mastering the actual architecture of a powerful argument. Because, it's one thing to have great ideas, but it's another thing entirely to structure them so they actually land with impact. The key was the Tolman model. Think of it as a clear blueprint that just demystifies how to argue. You start with your claim, what you're asserting. You back it up with evidence, the grounds. But the real magic is the warrant. That's the unspoken bridge that connects your evidence to your claim. The model even makes you think about counter-arguments with a rebuttal. It's a whole system for building arguments that aren't just stated, but are rock solid. And, one of the biggest lessons didn't even come from a textbook. It came from a story the professor told. It was about a science student whose entire PhD thesis was only 40 pages long. 40 pages, but it was so profound and so well argued that it was a massive success. That one story just completely shattered the old academic myth that more words, more pages, more volume somehow equals more value. The real goal became precision, clarity, and depth. For the students, that was a totally liberating realization. It let them focus on what actually matters. So, how did this all come together?
How did this whole journey permanently change Mr. Saad's professional identity and his actual day-to-day practice as a teacher and a researcher?
One of the final assignments was for him to define his own signature pedagogy. This wasn't just, another piece of homework. Mr. Saad said it was like an act of identity creation. It forced him to really spell out his core beliefs and solidify his new commitment to being an inclusive, student-centered educator. And the transformation wasn't just theoretical. No, it had an immediate real-world impact. With these new skills and this newfound confidence, he started taking on new leadership roles as an editor and a journal reviewer. He began presenting his research internationally. And maybe most importantly, he started seeing research as a form of inquiry and teaching as a form of empowerment. Ultimately, Mr. Saad's journey shows us that the right kind of educational experience does so much more than just pass on information. It doesn't just teach you what to think, it can fundamentally change how you think, how you see yourself, and what you believe your purpose is in the world. What if all learning could feel like that?